Unit 4, Individual Thinking. So as we start thinking about individual thinking, have you ever watched someone and thought, what on earth is going on in your head? What is going on in their head is their individual thinking. One of the first things we encounter, and you've encountered this since you were in primary school, is people going, oh, that's the smart kid. Ah, he's not as smart. Or, wow, that was very clever. It's that thing called intelligence. Now, what intelligence is very hard to define. Psychologists have struggled with this because it seems like some people are more competent. But you have to ask yourself, why is it that some people have competence that is extraordinary, like calculating a very, very complex mathematical formula to work out the trajectory to reach the moon, which is incredibly complex, yet they can't change their own car tire. And you have to go, wait, you're smart in one area of life, but are you that smart in the other area? So as we start delving into intelligence, we have to start asking ourselves, what could this thing called intelligence be? Many people immediately think of IQ, the intelligence quotient. Intelligence quotient was actually created by a really intelligent man, if we can say that he was intelligent, called Lewis Terman from Stanford University. And he wanted to really get down to the nitty-gritty of how can you measure how intelligent a person is compared to others. So what he did is he started creating questions on various topics that could measure your intelligence. So he would take your mental age and divide that by your chronological age times 100, and that would give you a score. What he would do then is place that on a normal curve, and he could work out more or less whether you are more intelligent than most people, less intelligent than most people, and that way he could categorize who you are. Now, what we are going to discuss, just for this lesson at least, is not necessarily that level of IQ intelligence, but something that is beyond that. Let's say intelligence is that capacity you have to solve problems, to think clearly about things, to apply the knowledge you have to problems, and to find solutions so that you can live your life successfully. People have different abilities to be able to do that, but let's use that as our start for intelligence. Now, one of the things we have to discuss is this idea of metacognition. So metacognition is thinking about thinking. You know, have you ever watched someone and they would do a mathematical sum? Immediately, they just write down the answer without doing all the calculations that you have to do. And you have to ask yourself, how do you do that? How did you get to that point where you could just write the answer down? They go, I don't know, I just write it down. What they've actually not done is thought about their thinking. There were certain steps they went through to be able to reach that answer, but they don't have the metacognition, the thinking about the thinking. So metacognition is thinking about how people reason, how they solve their problems, what are the steps they take to tackle a problem and find a solution. How do they think about the world, and how does that change their perspective on what they do? So here are a few things we discussed. We asked the question, what is intelligence? Then we said, you know, intelligence can be measured by the intelligence quotient, or IQ, which was created by Lewis Terman, but that is kind of a very scientific approach to be able to put people in certain categories, but it doesn't explain all the levels of intelligence. Then we started talking about what intelligence could be, and we said it is that application of what you know. It is the way you think, the way you solve problems, the way that you live your life successfully by using your thinking skill. And then the last thing was metacognition, that thinking about thinking. what are the processes that you use, and can you teach those processes to other people to make their thinking better and to improve their abilities. So start chewing on some of these ideas, because we're going to look more deeply in how that is done. So psychologists always ask themselves these questions, because the more we understand, the more we can help, and the more we can do with people's ability to make them become the best that they can possibly be. Thank you for your time. In the next lesson, we are going to start looking at some of the models of intelligence and how they are very different to just what the average person might think intelligence is.